Hey, here we are, Cairo Mafia. Look at that, man.
Oh,
You're like right on the bridge over the little river.
Dennis, I'm headed to Naples next week. I'm going to go speak with Dr. Tom, Cairo CEs. I'm going to be out there with some other great Cairos. We're going to be in Naples speaking, and should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So,
Hey, are those Italian Kairos or are they American Kairos practicing in
American
Italy?
Cairos, yeah, American Cairos,
Is there a
yeah.
lot of them out there?
Chiropractors in Italy, yeah. There's a crowd. Peter
Yeah.
Lawrence is a friend of mine. I mean, I don't talk to him all the time, but I talk to him probably every 2 to 3 months. And yeah, they got a whole association and everything. Yeah. I go see a
Yeah.
guy in Rhodey. So
Yeah, I had a handful of clients in Italy
yeah.
in the past, good
Yeah.
people, but they're all
Yeah.
Americans that were in Italy.
Correct. Most of them are Americans that moved to Italy or Italians that trained in America and then went back. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Cool, man. Well,
Yeah.
we're in a series here, and it's how to get family referrals, really how to break generational patterns. So Joe and I, before we start recording, we get off on these tangents, and then it always seems to direct and influence what we talk about.
Yes.
But we're going through day one, day two boot camp, and the goal is you got to run through the tape, man. What's the tape at the end of day one? That a new patient, 100%. That means every new patient will minimally agree that
Yes.
chiropractic is a healthcare lifestyle for families.
Yes.
So, so if they got to run through that tape, where are we starting? So you got a starting point, and you know where the end point is. Like everybody that starts a 10K or a marathon, they know where the tape is that they want to run through. Like they have a goal, and then they go through the process, and they've trained through that process, right? But they know where the tape is. And I think part of the problem, not I think, I know, if your purpose before you even meet a new patient, before the first patient walks in, is to break the generational health pattern. The generational health pattern isn't a health pattern, it's a subluxation pattern that leads to a health pattern. And you know this, Joe. God, how many kids are you taking care of? Thousands, tens of thousands?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And when you x-ray those kids, there's a parent that you could overlay those x-rays,
Correct.
and you see the progression down the timeline.
Yes.
And so you're looking for health patterns, not health problems.
Yes.
What's that mean? The longer they've been subluxated, the worse the diagnosis.
Yes.
Further
Yes.
down the subluxation timeline,
Yes.
cancer could be in the grandmother or
Yes.
the mother. The daughter only has allergies.
Yes.
Do the same thing. And I used to say that in my workshop. Allergies as a kid is autoimmune and cancer as an adult
Yeah.
because you got an immune system problem. It's not the allergies, it's not the cancer. It's is you have an energy problem that caused a weakened immune system that's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse if you don't do anything about it. And I wouldn't
100%.
let it go too much longer. How about 3 seconds? How
Yeah,
about
exactly.
face down on
Exactly.
the table?
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a study they did with fruit flies, and they did it with fleas, and they put them. It was done in jars, and this was done a number of years ago. And we had done something like this. I was a genetics major at Brockport, and we had done something similar to this. But in any case, they took these different insects and they put them in a jar. And when they put the lid on the jar, the flea, the different bugs, the different insects, the fruit fly, they could only go so high in the jar. If they went any higher, they'd hit the top of the jar and they couldn't get out. So after a period of time, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like 3 days, 4 days in, they take the top of the jar off, and the fruit fly or the insect wouldn't try to fly above where the top was, even though the top was no longer there. So it had trained the fly that that's as high as it could go. But what was really profound, which is what we're talking about, generational health, their offspring, the reason they would use fruit flies is because they had a short lifespan. You could turn them over quick. Their offspring would do the same thing. So now when they had babies, those babies became children. Those children would only fly so high. It was generational. The belief, the value was generational. It had expressed itself in the next generation to believe that that's how high they could go. So when we're talking about how you talk to your child, that could cause emotional trauma to a subluxation. When you talk about how you're eating, what the chemicals you're putting in the body, generational. When you talk about, like you're saying, overlay the x-ray, how I walk, how I talk, my kid's going to do the same thing. I'm overlapping it, right? They're running generation, they're genetic, they're familial, all of these things. So when you look at a child, two things should be firing in your brain. When you're looking at a child, you know their mom and dad are 30, 40 years of the consequence of what they look like. When you're looking at an adult, you know that kid at home that you're not seeing, they're going to end up looking like this or worse if they don't get in. So the reality is everybody needs care. And like you're saying, and what you're a master at, repositioning the value and belief on day one, which is what we're talking about, so that, like you said, should I bring them in? I mean, that's no longer a conclusion. They're led to believe, wow, I got to do this. I got to go home and get my kids. Let's get my kids checked next time they're in, because obviously this is something that they should be doing and I should have been doing a long time ago. I mean, that's the goal of the day one. They're walking away with that shift in belief.
Exactly. Now you said one word three times, and that is belief. So when you look at the fruit flies that wouldn't go past the opening, what do? It's like a belief system. They have a limiting
Right.
belief. I can only go this
Yes.
high.
Yes.
Right now, this is our problem.
Yes.
So the goal of the patient is to change their beliefs, but you have to change your beliefs first. Because if you can't master changing your own beliefs, then how are you going to master changing the perspective?
Correct.
Because beliefs are only perspectives.
Correct.
So we just gave a healed experience 2 weeks ago, and we look at generational belief systems, and we cleared generational belief systems. And after we went through a couple exercises, people are like, one woman gave a testimonial, and she goes, I just let go of energy from 3 and 4 generations ago of people I'd never met. Because we were
Yeah.
going through these visualizations and meditations, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know. And all of a sudden they're like, I feel like I just took a 100-pound backpack off.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was very freeing. This is the way your patients are going to feel. So is your strategy to educate, or is your strategy to change beliefs? Now, one thing Joe's a master at. So if your strategy is to change beliefs, now Joe, sometimes he calls it educate, but what's he doing? He's asking questions. Questions change beliefs. Statements don't always change
Yes.
beliefs.
Right.
Stories can
Yeah.
change beliefs.
Yes.
Analogies can change beliefs
Yes.
because
Yes.
those are the language of the right brain.
Yes.
You're going to change beliefs through your right brain, not your left brain. Well, no, that's not true, Fred, because when I hear some facts, then, that changed my belief. So you're full of shit. All right. So what you're saying is you trust facts. What emotion did you just experience?
Yeah, exactly.
Loyalty to trust, because oh my God, I need intellect because that's who I think I am, because I'm a doctor and my title makes me smart and I have to know all the answers. So when I have the research and I dictate it to someone who's a bank teller, they should think like I do.
Right.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
So once you actually change beliefs in your right brain, and then once it's known, it goes into your left brain. And then you could say, well, I don't agree. Okay, you could be right or you could be rich. Keep doing patient. And that's Alex
Right.
Hormozy. You could be right
Yeah.
or you could be rich. You could speak logic or you can learn human psychology.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
And I don't mean rich with money, although, money
Sure. That's a
is part of the
byproduct.
purpose, but
Absolutely.
rich in your purpose.
Yes.
And so the first belief system is say, you know what? I don't want to just build a practice. I want to create a generational legacy. And so think about this. If kids are mimicking their parents, and their parents are mimicking their parents and their parents and their parents and their parents, with the 3 generations that are alive, grandmom, adult, kid, you're not breaking a pattern, you're correcting the pattern. You
Yes.
only break the pattern with the kids that aren't born yet, that are the kids of the kids that get adjusted
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
minute they're born that never
Right.
form the pattern.
Correct. Yeah.
So when you're speaking to the adult or to the kid, are you talking to them in a way that makes them have purpose? That one, they get it, and two, they see the purpose that I can change the health of all the people that are alive right now and every generation forward. Now you have to have that purpose to speak that purpose into them. But if you don't have that purpose and all you want to do is close a patient, then that's what you'll do. You'll do it one at a time, and that's why you struggle.
Correct. Correct. Close is the wrong way to look at it. And I know there, some people out there they coach on that, but
Yeah.
I always like the word lead, and you and I are on the same page on that, but you're leading them, right? You're leading them. That's what you are. You're a healthcare leader. You're leading them. You're leading them in their health. You're leading them in their life. You're showing them something different. Of course they don't know. I hear some people say, well, give them what they want, give them what they want. You just day one, I call it first, it's a one night stand. I get it. I love you. I appreciate it. But the minute you start moving stuff and touching them and so-called you're treating them, you're not shifting their beliefs. You're not leading them anywhere. You're not only that, you're doing something worse. You're reinforcing, you're literally
Uh,
reinforcing what they came in with. So now you're trying to offer them something different two or three times later when the first day you reinforced what they already came in with. You're dead in the water. You're not going anywhere. You haven't led them anywhere.
no, and I remember, practicing and thinking, well, here's the facts. So Gallup did a study in 2015. 17% of Americans went to chiropractors. 70% of the 17% believed it was about neck and back pain.
Correct.
So that's
Right.
4.3% actually saw it possibly as healthcare.
Correct.
And that's after 100 and I don't know how many, 120 years or something. I don't know. But
Right.
anyway, yeah. So now the AI conglomerated a lot of these studies, 2022. Now only 11% go to chiropractors. It's gone down. And 85% of the 11% think it's about neck and back pain.
Yeah.
So here's my question. How's that patient education system working? How
Exactly.
is spitting out information?
Exactly.
I was on a coaching call yesterday, and this, long story. Hey, I had this, I adjust the kid, but the dad goes to another chiropractor for pain based, blah, 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 blah. And he said, maybe I should get on the table. And she goes, I didn't say the right thing because he didn't do it. How should I have handled that? And I told her, when I figured this out, and I said, not one more person is going to think chiropractic is about back pain. Now, then I got to the point where I didn't accept. If they didn't want to deal with their overall health and make it lifestyle, I didn't take them as a patient, but I also had a day one, day two, and workshop in first week that, the majority of they were either out in two or they stayed for 100. And that's how we grew, right? So, and you had a 400 PVA, so that's even better. But I remember, so I told her yesterday, I go, what should I have said? And I said, how do you look at that situation in chiropractic? If you were to get them to think like you do, what would you have said? And what she spit out was perfect. And I'm like, that's your only goal. And that's why I started studying human behavior 27 years ago. One question: how do I get everybody to look at chiropractic like I do? And then I created all the scripts we do in Elite and do all that, started studying human behavior. But the bottom line, I just talk to them like, here's how I think. Like, well, I'll bring him in next time. Or, let me get it. Mom brings in the kid. Let me, maybe I'll make an appointment next week. And I would say to him, so you want me to adjust your kid and stare at you subluxated and just stare at you and not care? You're asking me to do that. And they can't say yes to that. And I'm like, is that the kind of doctor you want taking care of your child? Someone who looks at your family and doesn't care? No. Well, then let's go get x-rayed. Boom, done right there, man.
Exactly,
Because
exactly.
that's how I think. I'm gonna have to stare at you. So I can't do that.
Right,
I can't do that. And why would you want a doctor to take care of your family like that?
right, exactly.
And people are like, well, I can't say that. Well, that's why the mom walks out.
Yeah. We use a line in the office sometimes where, because chiropractic about back pain. I go, well, that's like saying a cardiologist is about chest pain. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
I mean, really?
Oh, that's
Is
a
a
good one.
cardiologist about chest pain? I mean, I know you're going in with chest pain, but is that what he's about? Well, no. He's about the heart. But why is he about the heart? Well, so I don't die. So, right. So what is
Yeah.
it really about? I understand he takes care of the heart, but so you don't die, so that you're what? Alive. And if you have a better heart, you live a better life. So what is he really about? Oh, he's about having a better life. I go, exactly. So he's not a chest pain doctor, right? He's about giving you a better life doctor with a healthier heart. So I'm the same way, right? You got a brain and spinal cord. So sometimes again, I use different analogies. I know you do too.
I
Sometimes
know that's
it
a
helps,
right brain
sometimes it
language,
doesn't.
man.
Right,
That's,
right.
you're telling a story and using an analogy that
Yes.
changed their belief on the
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
Once he says, "Well, no, they're about lifestyle," all you got to do is say, "Okay, now you get it, face down." So you have
Right, exactly.
that thing.
Exactly.
Like all the rest isn't even necessary, right? You just go, "Okay, face
Exactly.
down." Now you get it. Oh, by the way,
Yes.
where's your kids?
Yes. I think and part of I mean, there's part of it's the schools are teaching that way. So I've talked to a lot of docs, younger docs, and so they come out. I know I went to national, good people, misguided. Good people, no concept of, no coaching, no mentoring. Nobody was allowed on campus. It was very medically based, medically oriented. No subluxation, no very little philosophy. So we didn't get a lot of that. And so I know you got some kids coming out, I should say kids, young doctors coming out. And that's part of it. I think part of it is you get out, okay, the patient knows this. I don't have the confidence, the clarity, the mission, the purpose, the why, the vision to lead them. I'm scared. I'm in scarcity. I got bills to pay. So I'm going to take them and accept them under whatever terms they're at just to get them under. So even if they come in a handful of times, it's better than nothing. And, so I think unfortunately there's too many people, not saying that's the story for everybody, but there are too many people there as well. And that's where listening to podcasts like this and working with mentors or coaches, circling yourself with a group of people. There was a great study that came out, Fred, and you could sum it up this way. It was a number of years ago. I've read it a few times, and it was about it was workplace performance. So if I sit you next to somebody that's a high achiever, if I sit you next to somebody who's doing better than you, your performance goes up 20%, up to 20%, 15 to 20%. If I put you next to somebody who's doing a lousy job, a really bad job, your performance could drop up to 30%. So number one, who are you sitting around? And number two, I've said this for years, like if you want to be wealthy, if you want to be rich financially rich, why would you take advice from a poor person? Right? You're not going to go, who's the poorest guy in the room? Or you know what? Who are the people, my friends and family? Let me get advice from them. That doesn't make sense. You'd say, listen, who's the wealthiest, richest guy I know? Let me hang out with him. Your wealth is going to grow by 20% just by being around him if you're a high achiever. So same thing with a chiropractor. Like I laugh at that because you go to these events and the state associations and everyone gets together with their comfort group, their buddies, and everybody's seeing the same number. They're like, oh, I'm really having trouble with this, and oh, I'm going to go ask my buddy who sees the same or less than me and see what he thinks. What does he do in his office? And you're just like, why would you ask anyone that? Go find the guy or the woman that's seen more people than anyone. That's the happiest. That's the wealthiest. That's the most purposeful. That's got a report card. That's done it. Those are the people to ask. How do you change someone's beliefs? How do you shift the value? What analogies? What stories? How do you do it? How'd you get there? How do you get through it? What do you think? Like everybody walks into the office. We were talking about this at the boot camp. Everybody walks in, wants to get cracked, not adjusted. They want to get cracked that day. They want to come in maybe two or three times and they don't want to pay anything. Their insurance is going to cover everything. So the average person walking in, unless they're referred by a family member and they're pre-qualified, or unless you met them at a talk or a screening or something like that, the average person walking off the street, they're thinking that way. So you think it's different in Texas versus New York versus Pennsylvania versus the Midwest. It's all the same way. So you have to
Versus
lead
Italy
them.
versus Australia
Right.
versus
You got to
New
lead them
Zealand.
from that mindset to something else, or they're coming in 3 times to get cracked. They're going to say, I went to a chiropractor, it helped or it didn't help. And you've just solidified, reinforced the belief of what you started to talk with was, hey, 70, 80% of the people that go think it's about neck or back pain.
Yeah. Well, you said so many things, and so there's three different topics I want to address based on what you went through. First one is schools. Now, the thing is, if you didn't figure out, especially nowadays when schools are teaching, don't X-ray and you're not allowed to adjust. If you
Yes.
didn't figure out that you're not going to be a great chiropractor by what school's going to teach you, there's the first problem,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I figured that out in the second term.
Dental schools are teaching that too. Don't X-ray, don't drill. Don't X-ray, don't drill.
Yeah, no, I know. And so if you're going to be a chiropractor and you think that you're going to be successful based on what school teaches, when you can't
Yeah.
X-ray and you can't even adjust, then you better, yeah, there's the first problem.
Problem number one.
Problem
Absolutely.
number one. Yeah. So it's not the schools because it's the doctors in practice that influence the general public.
Yes,
It's
correct.
not what you learn in school.
Correct.
I mean, I started getting student loans and going to seminars, learning how to fix people and getting tutored and adjusting in second term because it didn't take long to figure out. You can't even say the word subluxation at LACC. Yeah, even though I barely knew what it was, I knew it was minimally a bone out of place. But
Right,
you
right.
can't say there's a bone out of place, but
And
I'm
it's
going to
associated with
chiropractic.
chiropractic? Right, exactly.
Yeah. So there's the first contradiction. The second thing is absolutely you want to hang out with people that are more successful. And that's why
Yes,
we would go to DE and I would listen to people that saw
yes,
1,000, 1,500 gym
yes.
boost, 2,000 a week because those people are at a different level of consciousness. Your
Correct.
level of practice is related to your level of consciousness
100%.
and your belief systems.
Yes.
So we would hang around people that were doing 3 and 4 times better than what I was doing at the time because that was my goal. And I tried to seep into their level of consciousness, right? Because it starts with mindset, it's not systems first. Mindset is a fuel for system. That's another thing. Then the next thing is beliefs. You said it again, man. What are your belief systems? What's your purpose? If you're going to go out and you think you have to struggle to build a practice, then you will definitely struggle. But you don't understand,
Right,
it's hard to grow. Okay, bingo, there's your first belief system.
right.
I would say so the first thing is your mindset. Second thing is your systems. So what you do is you go to someone, like you said, get a coach that's done what you do, that aligns with your core values and your standards. And
Yes.
that's the problem that I ran into with 4 coaches. The coaches that I paid, I had higher standards than they did because they were giving me patient education. They tell you your goal is a 40 PVA. 40? That's not lifestyle. I want somebody who believes they should be 100 PVA. I want somebody to say, well, we're going to teach you lifestyle, but you got to start with, giving them what they want and then telling them what they need. Tried it, doesn't work, 40 PVA. And then you learn human behavior. Like, that's not how human beings work. Their brains don't work like that. So, anyway, and so that's it. So, you got to find somebody's whose standard is actually higher than yours. And when I get clients, what I tell them is we got to be clear on what our core values are. And then we got to be clear on what our standards are. And we're going to it's like a high jump bar. We set the high jump bar at 7.2, but you can only jump 5 feet. And this is where the profession blows you. You're not going to run 5 feet on a 7.2 bar and jump on the mat like you won the gold medal because the audience is going to be wondering what the hell you're doing and you're freaking insane. So,
Right.
so what we're going to do is we're going to set your standard higher than your skill level And
Yes,
then we're going to teach you how to master your skills.
exactly.
So now you fulfill your purpose on a higher level. But you got to want to have that purpose.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's going to drive it. That's going to fuel it. That's going to help direct it. That's your
that's
compass.
going to keep you going. And
Yeah,
that's the problem, like we were talking about, why. And the problem is, and this is where we started before we started recording, success is the enemy to purpose. Why? Because when you're successful, you become comfortable and you stop
yes,
because you didn't keep the ultimate vision and purpose in your mind. You got caught up in your conditions. Everything may have gotten comfortable, or you're uncomfortably comfortable.
yeah.
And then
And
people
go ahead.
settle.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say. So success, the problem with that is success might be the highest level of survive, right? So I'm in a survival mode, survival mode. All right, you talk to some people where, yeah, I just want to pay my bills. I just got to pay my overhead. If I could just pay my overhead, everything was fine. So, I mean, I get it and I can appreciate it, but that's where your headspace is. So, your only push is to get just good enough to get everything paid for. Now everything's paid for. Okay, well, I'm done. Why does a guy that makes $20 million a year, let alone 20 a month, why does that guy, that woman, why does that person still go to work every day? Right? I mean, it's not about money at that point. It's not about having more money. They're trying to accomplish something. There's a purpose, there's a mission, there's something else that drives them to get out of bed in the morning. You got to find what that is. Because at some point your bills are going to be paid. And at some point, you're going to be on your bed taking your last breath. I mean, I want to take a look at my life and go, you know what? I did everything I could in order to align with what my mission purpose was. We just had a boot camp. I stepped out of the practice about a year and a half ago. So I haven't been adjusting people since June of 2023. And so I was at a boot camp and we left the boot camp. I just got off a call with a couple docs and everyone's like, my God, like it was the best boot camp we've ever had. You were unbelievable. So I talked to a couple of people today on their coaching call, and they were like, geez, we really thought you were gonna like step lower the tone or be a little relaxed or not have the piss and vinegar was what one guy said, because you're not practicing anymore, that you're kind of like semi-retired. I'm like, semi-retired, like semi-retired. I'm working more now as a coach, but I was like, because hey, I have a lot of money. I don't need to work to pay my bills anymore. So you think I'm just like, do you realize that I'm not doing this to make a dollar? Do you realize that I'm on a call with you to make a difference in the world? I'm trying to get you to be your best, not me to get you to be your best. I'm trying to get you to want to be your best. So in the end, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get everyone to be their best, and we're trying to get everybody to bring chiropractic and truly what chiropractic is to the world, because it's a healing, it's a necessity and a requirement. And we need to build up your clarity, your confidence, your communication. We got to get you aligned with your values and beliefs. We got to give you a vision and purpose bigger than your excuses, bigger than your fears, bigger than what keeps you up at night. The boogeyman. We got to make it bigger than that so that you can go to work every day, have some fun, fulfill your mission, make a difference in the world, and that'll fulfill our mission. That'll fulfill our purpose. But if we're not doing
So
that, we're
what's
not going
funny,
anywhere.
man, is like, no, people don't get it. Coaching's way harder than practicing.
Oh,
It's
way
like
harder.
practicing automatic. It's like when people say, well, I think I want to coach. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like,
Yeah.
stay where you are, man.
If you think people
Yeah, it's
scatter when a
way
chiropractor,
harder.
yeah, I always say this. If you think people scatter because somebody like a chiropractor walks in, is going to try to screen everyone, they really scatter when a chiropractic coach walks in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know,
Like, wait
exactly.
a minute, why do we got a bad name? What's going
Yeah, I
on?
know. I'm just trying to say hello, man. Whatever, dude.
Exactly. Or you're just trying to get me in your groove. Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
Oh
Well,
man, yeah, you're gonna try and sell me. I don't even know your name.
exactly.
Yeah, you know.
This is my response. I do this with chiropractic always. Somebody says to me, "Man, you want everyone to be on a care. You try to sell everyone. You're trying to." I go, "Let me ask you a question. I appreciate that. I get that. I can see where you would think that. But let me ask you this: You ever gone to a phenomenal restaurant? Like phenomenal, like not a good restaurant. You go to a restaurant, and you're like, damn, service, food, atmosphere, ambiance, everything could not have been the experience you had with a loved one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What do? You leave the restaurant and you keep it to yourself? Well, no. I go, what do you do? I tell everyone, exactly, right? I said, why? Because you want everyone to have that same fulfillment, that experience as you do. You don't even want anything out of it. You're not getting paid by the restaurant. You're like, oh my God, I want you. I had such a great experience. I love you. I care about you. I want you to have the same experience. I go, that's how I feel about what I do as a chiropractor or a coach. I had such a phenomenal experience. One, being a chiropractor, two, being a chiropractic coach. I want you to have that same experience. So my enthusiasm is all about that. There's nothing attached to it. So I want you to come to my restaurant, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah, I know, man. It's like people want well, how about new patients and la la la. Well, first of all, let's get back to, it's
yeah,
so easy for us to go off. When your purpose is to break generational patterns, we
yes,
went through this on a previous one. Three questions on day one. Who'd you get it from? Right? Parents. Who are you giving it to?
yes.
Who else in your family
It's
has it?
right.
Because we feel like we get immediate family and then we're
Yes,
happy. Okay, got a
yes,
family under care. Great.
yes,
But then your nieces and nephews are getting
yes,
vaccinated.
yes,
They're getting autoimmune diseases. They're
yes,
carrying patterns because the siblings of the patient are carrying that pattern too.
yes.
And they're sending it to their nieces and nephews. So the goal is the whole family tree and then future generations. Now imagine if that was the tape you had to run through. You're going to say different things. Now you're like, well, I don't know what to say to get there. Well, I guarantee you, Joe goes through in his boot camps. I guarantee you, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it in Atlanta, June 6th or the 8th on the day one boot camp. And then we're going to show you how to keep them for the rest of their life and continue our referral source in August. So, so there are, but see, that's our consciousness. So if you don't have that consciousness, then you probably want to train with someone that does and has the systems that can achieve that.
Right. Exactly.
Now, oh, there you go, pitching your coaching. Not really, because if you don't want to do that, then we can't take you as a client because otherwise it's too hard to coach you.
Yeah.
If all you want to do is build a practice, man, go sign up with Clothes for Cairo. And I mean, they're doing great things. They help people. They help people become successful. So, there's plenty of groups out there that will help you do that. We're into, and I'm speaking for you, we're into breaking generational patterns,
Absolutely.
disrupting healthcare. We're
Yeah.
into making chiropractic the tip of the spear of healthcare. And with RFK Jr., now with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, it's actually happening. It's possible, and we as chiropractors need to step up, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, it opens up the conversation. And I'm a big fan of, we have a baby model. We have forceps, vacuum extractor. I have all what people call props. They'll call me Carrot Top because I got all my props, right? So I got them in my office for those analogies, those explanations, and so forth. But even if you don't know what to say sometimes, you put a baby model with forceps on your table, you put a toothbrush on your table. People will ask. And what it does is it creates an environment to create the conversation that you want to have. And that's what's great about RFK. Like him being there and bringing up these other things, even though sometimes it's not the word chiropractic, you're bringing up health care. You're talking about things that you're putting in your body that are
Well,
toxic
you're
or
bringing up belief systems,
right, exactly. You're talking
challenging
about, hey, is my
beliefs.
body meant to be sick? Am I supposed? He's talking about this sickness, disease, child epidemic. That starts with a premise of, do you think your kid should be healthy? Yes. Well, he's not healthy. Why? Right? I mean, there's obviously something going on. So I love it because it creates the conversation. And
Absolutely.
that's what I loved about doing those things in practice. It creates an environment to have a conversation. Hey, what's the toothbrush for? You going into dentistry? Hey, I'm glad you asked that. A buddy of mine was using that as an analogy, and I loved it. And let me ask you a question. Do you brush your teeth? And it just allows you to get into a conversation about spine and nervous system by having it. And that's the beauty of what's starting to happen right now. At least, you hope. So,
Well, if I was practicing right now and I've told my clients this because of what's going on with RFK. I would retitle my workshop or give a special workshop, but it's really a chiropractic workshop. You just change the first 15 or 20 minutes. And I would call it what's going on in the world today? Learn
Yeah.
the truth about the origin of health for you and your family for
Yeah.
generations to come, right?
Yeah.
I'd put that on social media. I would promote it in the community. I would do like a Facebook
Love
Live
it.
for
Yeah.
people that live in other areas.
Yeah. Love it.
I would do that, man, no question. And I would talk about I would address some of the things of what RFK, not that you're offering, well, you shouldn't vaccinate your kids. You're not doing that. What you're saying is, hey, here's what is coming out. And
Right.
then, so now with all these questions, let's show you where health really comes from. And then the rest is chiropractic. Like all you're doing is saying, here's what you're seeing out in the world. Here's what people have popular questions on. Here's the most desired answers that people want today. So all you
Yeah.
got to do is say, hey, you're seeing videos on this, you're seeing videos on this, you're seeing videos on this. Well, let's look at where health really comes from. So you're not
Yes.
sitting there
Right.
giving an opinion.
Yes.
You're just stating the facts.
Yes.
And then I'd give a
It's
chiropractic
helpful.
workshop and I would stream it all over social media.
Yeah. Yeah. We have plants in our office, like real plants, and they're healthy and beautiful. And I say, well, is that plant healthy? Yeah. And then you put a sick plant. We have a sick plant and, it's dead. And, is that plant healthy? No, it's sick. Well, why is it sick? Well, it didn't get water, sunlight, nutrients. Right. So what does that do? How does that make it? Is the plant designed to be healthy? Is it designed to be sick? Well, no, it's they already know that because they're looking at sick plant. No, it's designed to be healthy. So why isn't it healthy? What's missing? What's going on? If I give it water, if I only give it water and sun, if I only give it sun and water, like what does it need? Why is it doing that? What's doing the healing? I give it water, sun, and nutrients. But if it's already dead, is it going to get well? No. So why doesn't it get well, right? Why isn't it getting well? What left it? What's no longer there? What's absent? Using some, and again, that's not the only analogy that we teach and we use, but that helps. It helps get them to understand that, look, you already intuitively know it's meant to be well. And if it's not well, something's missing, right? So the
Yeah.
same is true with you. You're designed to be well too.
Yeah.
So if you're
Well,
not well, why aren't you well, right? Something's missing.
well,
So,
and here's what I say on coaching calls. If forget about what Joe's saying, look at what he's doing. Because when you understand what he's doing, then that'll change what you say. Now, you can take his stories, and obviously they're great, and people are, I get accolades like, yeah, Joe said this, and I used it, and it worked. I'm watching the Chiro Mafia. And so, but if you look at what he's doing, he's telling a story with questions and using analogies, right? What did we say in the beginning? Statements don't change beliefs, questions change beliefs. He's asking a series of questions. And this is what we always tell people: we don't teach people what to think. That's patient education. We
right,
teach them how to think
right.
by a series of progressive questions.
Yes.
Because once they learn how to think, you don't have to keep educating them. And then you
Right.
change their belief system.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
anyway, man, I gotta get on an early
Yeah,
coach
let's go.
here.
Let's do
So
it. Move it on. Make sure you guys share, like. What is it? We got to like it. We got to share it. We got to
subscribe,
comment.
comment, subscribe. There's only
Yeah,
like five
subscribe. We've
actions
got a
that
lot of
we
really
gave you.
positive feedback lately from a lot of people too, and I really appreciate it. So
Yeah, yeah. Thank you guys so much, man. I think our following is building, which is good.
yeah, it's great.
So, anyways, love you guys. And hey, Joe just had a boot camp. We got a day one boot camp, June 6th through the 8th. Go to elitecoachingllc.com and schedule a generational breakthrough call. And we'll see if we can help you break generational patterns. So,
And next time I talk to you guys, I won't need a backdrop. I'll literally be in Italy in 2 weeks. So I'll talk to you guys from Italy. So
yeah, awesome. All
good
right.
stuff.
Love you, brother.
Ciao.
Talk soon.